Welcome to another episode of On the Move with Margaret. This is where I interview women who inspire me, and I'm hoping that they'll inspire you to be the best that you can possibly be. So today we've got the very famous Melanie Hawken from Lionesses of Africa, based in The Hague in the Netherlands, who's joining us. And we're going to be chatting like two old mates, which we are. So Melanie, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you on the show, and it's going to be fabulous having you here. Tell us, what's it like in The Hague today?
Cold, as you can probably see by my outfit in contrast to yours. It is
Yeah.
cold. We have had snow, we have had ice, we have freezing fog today. It's kind of, below minus. So yeah, it's cold. So forgive me for wearing a scarf and looking like it's the middle of winter. It is.
You look amazing. I've just moved to a new country as well when I moved to America, and it's very difficult. People think you just moved to a new country. It's like moving around the corner. Moving to a new country is really, really difficult. I found it extremely difficult. My husband also did, and I thought he would, men can talk to men wherever they are, and they talk about sport, but it was so different because there's no rugby and cricket, and they're all talking basketball and baseball, so he was out of the conversation. I was out of the conversation because everybody said, oh, what university did you go to, and what degree did you do, and blah, 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 and they all had, people that they knew, and I was left out. So tell us about you moving to The Hague and how different it's been, and what you've, the good parts and the bad parts.
Listen, Margaret, I mean, this is not new to me. I've spent my entire life moving to different places, different countries, living and working around the world. So it's not new. And I suppose as a result, I've kind of developed a way of being able to integrate quickly. And I've learned some really useful things along the way. So for example, I spent a good 2 to 3 years before I came to The Hague actually building my networks here, building contacts here, getting to know people here, building relationships. So by the time I actually came here, I already had a core group that I could tap into. And so basically from day one, hit the ground running, had people working with me to make introductions, opening up networks for me, hosting events for me. I mean, really, it was a soft landing in the best possible way. And I've learned that along the way. There have been some countries I've moved to over the years that have been much tougher. But really, this was so much easier. And at the end of the day, because I'm here doing exactly what Lionesses of Africa does. It's really helping to open up new markets and opportunities for Africa's women entrepreneurs. So that's a message that people buy into. They're really excited by it. They're inspired by it. So it kind of makes it easier to open up those conversations and to create those networks.
Yeah, but when you get to a new country, you've got to find a local plumber and electrician and pharmacist and all that type of thing. Did you sort of think another country, here we go, that's what I go, plumber, electrician, pharmacist probably, or did you just take it and then as it came?
No, literally learn the lessons previously. Work with organizations that help you to have the biggest soft landing from day one so that you don't have to think about those things. They've helped you to do that before you even arrive. Everything is taken care of. There are some things it's worth investing in, and actually having people help you to get that soft landing in a new country, setting everything up for you so that you can just walk into your rental apartment. Everything is done. Everything is set up. You have your list of everything from the plumbers, the agents, everyone that you have. Everything's already done. So all you have to focus on from day one is actually hitting the ground running with the business, which is really why you move. So yeah, for me, I've learned some really, really big lessons over the years, and that is definitely one of them.
Yeah. And before you left, I remember you sort of, you had a capsule wardrobe that you could take everywhere with you. You would fit everything into one suitcase. I'm terrible.
Still do.
I have to take 3 suitcases. I have 101 of everything. And then you went into a rental apartment. You said, I'm not going to buy another place. I'm not going to buy a car. I'm just going to Uber. And how's that lifestyle? Have you got used to it completely? Do you ever want to go back to the old way?
I mean, there's a combination of things because I still travel. I still do business in different places. We still have an office in New York, and our focus is Africa. So I still travel. But I've never lost my having the capsule wardrobe approach to travel. If it doesn't go into basically a carry-on, it doesn't go. I literally need to be able to run from the airport onto public transport or into a waiting cab, get to where I need to be, not spend wasted time at an airport waiting for luggage to come through. Can I tell you, I have lost so much luggage over the years, particularly in Africa. And I've learned some really hard lessons about traveling light. And actually, that's how I live. I have two capsule wardrobes, a winter and a summer wardrobe, and basically they swap over. They're there all the time, and basically, it's good to go.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, I still remember that day you came into my store in Meadowdale and to interview me and say, I'm going to start this organization called Lionesses of Africa. And I thought, oh, well, here we go. You know, she'll go along and there'll be a few people. And now, of course, it must be nearly 2 million women you've got on your books.
It is 2 million.
Oh, it's just incredible. And you still can't communicate with all of us every day, which to me is just amazing. Because I mean, I try with podcasts and LinkedIn and that type of thing, but the discipline involved must be absolutely phenomenal. How do you set it up?
Well, that's the thing. It's actually, and you know this, Margaret, because I know that you share that similar approach. And I remember, can I tell you, I was going by. I remember when you and I first sat in your store having that conversation. Now, and I'm going to share something with you right now because, and this will take you back, because I celebrated my 64th birthday this last week. When I first started to think about Lionesses of Africa and creating Lionesses of Africa, it was inspired by my 50th birthday. You were the first woman entrepreneur in Africa that I sat down with to actually bounce this idea of Lionesses of Africa with. And that was 3 years before Lioness of Africa went live. So we celebrated our 11th anniversary in November last year. And so that's how long we've known one another. That's how long Lionesses has been around. We just celebrated 11 years, but in actual fact, the hard yards were done in the years before that, getting ready to launch, so that when you switch on, you're actually not starting from scratch. You have the startings of a community. But you know what, Margaret? You asked me something quite critical there. How do you know when you start something that it's going to have legs, that there's going to be longevity? And the thing is, you don't. I'm sure when you first started out, you didn't know, literally decades later, that you were going to have the business empire that you have today. But what you and I share is, I think we started out with a vision of what we wanted to achieve. And that's, to me, has been the critical thing. From day one, I sat down and I created that big audacious goal. You talk about it a lot when you have your sessions with women entrepreneurs. But I said, what do I want to achieve? And I wanted to positively impact the lives of 1 million women entrepreneurs. That was the big, hairy, audacious goal at the time. We now have 2 million. And the thing is, I think if you have that goal, if you have that vision, you actually have a trajectory, you have a roadmap to follow. And really, that's what keeps your energy levels going. You have a mission. You know why you get up in the morning. You know why, even on the tough days, you still get up in the morning and you do what you need to do, because you have a passion for doing it, and it keeps you on track.
And I think that's the beauty of it, is the passion, that we both have a passion for what we do, and we have a passion for entrepreneurs and helping other women. And, I spoke to a girl today and they said, how have you stuck it out here for so long in the position she was in? And she said, I just didn't have another alternative. That was all I could do. And I thought, oh, that must be such a terrible thing. At least we know we can do other things, but we choose to do this every single day. And I think the big thing is that we feed off the energy of the women that we work with, that we work with such amazing women, and we would not have that energy. And I know that when I've had a conversation with one of the entrepreneurs that I'm dealing with, I just feel so wonderful afterwards, because I think, wow, that is so fantastic. And of course, when they start to do well, it's even better, because then, they don't usually phone you when they're doing well. They phone you when they're going through tough times and you've got to guide them. But then they phone you to say, it's worked out. I've just got it. I've made it. This is fantastic. And then you just go, woof, that adrenaline rush of just helping a person to achieve their dreams, which is what it's all about at the end of the day.
But I mean, you touched on something there, and I think you're quite right. And again, it's why Lionesses of Africa exists. It's tough out there. It's tough in the world of business. And at the moment, it's particularly tough. There's a lot of challenges out there. It doesn't get any easier. You and I have been around a long time, and it doesn't get any easier. We just get more experienced at being able to come up with solutions to deal with the challenges out there. But the one thing that I found, and this comes back from, why did we originally start? Why did we launch? We need other people. We need to be able to be part of a community that is supportive. You need to be able to pick up a phone or connect with another woman entrepreneur, say, hey, listen, like they do with you. It's tough at the moment. How do I get over this? How do I find that customer? How do I launch this product when maybe no one knows me in the marketplace? How do I bounce back from, being on the brink of financial collapse? How do you do that? And of course, as experienced entrepreneurs, when you bring enough of them together, we have the solutions there because we've all been there. We've walked those journeys. These things have happened to us. So we actually bring that knowledge and experience to the table, and we say, okay, have you tried this? Have you done this? Have you thought about this? Have you connected with so and so? They, pick up a phone to try this. We've got that depth of experience to tap into. And I think, you're more likely to succeed if you are part of a community of like-minded individuals that are all trying to do the same thing. We can learn from one another, we inspire one another, we lift each other up when things are really tough, and we celebrate when things are going well. That's the power of community.
And it's also the power of sisterhood. And I'm great on the power of sisterhood because a lot of women didn't have many women friends. I didn't have many women friends as a child growing up and as a young mother. And that I really had a few, but not many. But now I've got a lot of friends because we're all literally in the same boat. We're all getting on. We've all got to make a living. We've all got to keep ourselves going. We've got to look after our health. We've got to keep ourselves slim and trim, keep our energy levels up. And I think we've got so much more in common now than we ever have. So I love the sisterhood. I love that we've got, a common bond and we can go forward together. We all deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, and often I consider as an entrepreneur, I'll tell you straight away, you're going to make it or you're never going to make it. You just haven't got it. How do you get that feeling and how do you communicate it to them? And the ones that you feel and haven't got it, how do you sort of push them into the right direction? Because I struggle with that quite a bit.
Again, power of community. We have 2 million women entrepreneurs in our community. I will tell you, they vary from the women that are just starting out, the young women entrepreneurs that are aspirational to be you one day. They see you, they see this, uber successful woman who's seen it all, been there, done it, got the t-shirt multiple times, got the awards. But you and I both know that's a very long multiple decades long journey. And when you're just starting out, you don't know the answers. Of course you don't. We've all learned the hard way. We've made more mistakes than we would care to think about. But you need to be able to tap into other people. So you're right, you do get a sixth sense. When you've been around a long time, you get a feel for those that are perhaps going to make it and those that are perhaps not. Sometimes I am really pleasantly surprised by those who are tenacious and they have a vision and a goal and they stick to it no matter how many challenges or hurdles are thrown in their way, and they surprise me. But for those that are starting out and those that find it challenging and those that stumble along the way, comes back to the power of community. Link them with other women entrepreneurs, bring them in, show them, we do it through our Lioness Leaning events. We do it through our various programs, our mentoring programs, you name it. We say, come and actually see how others are doing it. Walk the walk with them. You're not ready yet maybe to take that next big leap, but maybe in a year you will be. See how they're doing it. Learn from them. Read everything. Read the resource. You say you still read Good Morning Lionesses in the morning. The reason we literally commit to sending that out every morning, rain or shine, is so that women entrepreneurs can rely, no matter whether you're just starting out on your journey or you're someone that's been around a long time. You learn. You've got ways of being able to have line of sight to other women that are doing it. You look at that advice, you look at those shared experiences, and you apply it in your own space till eventually you get it right. You may fall once, twice, 3 times, many times. We've all been there. But if you're tenacious and you want it badly enough, you keep going, you keep trying, and eventually, not everyone is going to make it. But those that genuinely are desperate and have the urge and the passion to be entrepreneurs and are driven, they will eventually make it. To some extent or another, we try and help everybody along that journey wherever they happen to be.
And I think the resilience is actually the key. Determination and resilience is the key to just keeping on going, keeping on going with it. And the times will get tough. And I say to them, it's like the waves on the ocean, the waves come and they go, they come and they go. The good times are going to come and then the bad times are going to come. And you just have to go through that roller coaster and get there. So now tell us going forward, how do you see Lionesses growing? Because you're already at 2 million now? Is it aim 5? Or you're going to say this is enough already, or you're just going to have more join? Because more and more women are becoming entrepreneurs because, one, it's difficult to get a job. Two, they've got children to feed and they have to work and they have to bring money in somehow. And I never cease to be amazed at how innovative they are. They come up with the most amazing ideas to make money, and they do, you know. And to me, I just was with one of my entrepreneurs who I actually set up in business recently, and her daughter's come through now. And she's one of these girls who's never going to pass her standards. No matter how hard she tries, she's never going to get there. And I said to her today, she's so lucky because she can do hair, she can do nails, she can do social media, you know, because the young people like that type of thing. There's so many different ways that we can get people involved. But for Lionesses going forward, how do you see it going forward in the future?
Well, that's an interesting point as well. We've been talking a lot about it, and you know as well as I do, to stay in business and to keep growing, you have to keep innovating. You have to keep thinking about how you keep up with the changing world we live in. For us, we've spent a long time actually looking at what is happening, what trends are happening in the world of business, how things are changing on the African continent, how Africa needs to change in the way that it does business, particularly for women entrepreneurs to keep accessing new markets and particularly accessing that all-important funding. The biggest thing that I'm seeing happening, and this is particularly with the new generation coming through, and I'm looking at Gen Zs and obviously the Gen Alphas that are coming behind them, is everything has changed with the explosion of AI. Fact. And love it or hate it, it is a fact of life. It is with us. The one thing it has done from an entrepreneurship point of view, and we're seeing this every day, it's actually leveling the playing field. It's opening up opportunities for those that previously might not have had any access to be able to think about setting up a business, to suddenly, even if you are in the remotest place, to be able to get on your phone, to be able to start a business using digital applications, using AI, to be able to use your smartphone, to be able to do your banking, you know, you name it. But you can now, but through technology, through AI, through these new platforms, these new tools, these new resources, you can really tap into the knowledge and experience you have or the ideas you have, but really harness the power of AI to be able to help you shape it into something that you would spend a lifetime doing had it not been there for you. Now, obviously, there are pros and cons there. The one thing you can see at the moment, you can see absolutely if someone's developed an AI business plan, you can see it a mile away. If someone's developed an AI marketing plan, you can see it a mile away. But the technology is changing all the time. The apps are changing all the time. Things are, you know, if I look at just ChatGPT being one of them, if you look at how much that those iterations have changed over the last months and weeks, you know, it is happening at such a frightening rapid pace. You look at all of these various applications and tools, they are revolutionizing the way that actually now entrepreneurship is being opened up to people simply through the power of technology. And that is the game changer. For young people, they are used to working with technology and their smartphones day in, day out. And therefore, it's a very easy transition to be able to say, right, okay, I want to start a business. ChatGPT, tell me, how do I write a business plan? How do I do a marketing plan? How do I test this idea for viability? You know, tell me how to do it. And basically, they're being able to get access to information that allows them to be able to really take a germ of an idea and turn it into something that potentially could be a business. Now, you and I both know you can write all the business plans in the world that you like. You can write all of the lovely PR campaigns and things, but it comes down to hard graft and knowing how to make a sale and having a product and service that somebody wants. That's never going to change. But it does open up all of that opportunity. And it is changing the face for a new generation of women entrepreneurs in Africa to really start thinking about this as a viable proposition for them. And that, to me, is hugely empowering, particularly for women.
Yes. Well, you know, my mission in life is to make sure that every woman is financially independent, because a financially independent woman can look after herself. So she doesn't have to ask anybody for anything. And, but the two things that worry me, and the first thing is financing. You know, that I always teach my entrepreneurs not to get finance. Now, you encourage them to get finance. So we're on opposite ends of the spectrum there. But if you encourage them to get finance and they borrow and borrow, and now they're making money, oh my God, I've got to pay all this money back. Isn't that a daunting factor? back to them?
Look, it's not just about getting funding. You actually have to have financial literacy. You actually have to know how to handle your finances. Now, you've always been really good at this with your women entrepreneurs. You've always taught basic financial literacy, basic financial management knowledge. That comes first. There's no, I mean, and also you don't get funding unless you have the fundamentals of actually understanding how to manage your finances. So yes, we say if you need to get funding, you need to be very smart and equipped to be able to go into that funding space, because you will not get funding unless you're actually equipped, first of all, to be able to apply for it, your business equipped and actually having a track record to be able to manage it. But you also, as an entrepreneur, need to be savvy and trained to be able to manage those finances smartly. So we don't say going for funding is for everybody, and funding is not available for everybody. Let's be honest about it. That landscape is not changing so rapidly. You still have to have a sound business. You have to have a sound business plan. You have to have your marketing strategy in place. You have to be savvy with what you do. You have to know how to run a business to be able to get the funding you need. I think for me, the one thing that I was really frustrated with when I first started Lionesses, and I'm still frustrated to today, is the number of women that actually are in high growth potential mode. They've got a sound business. They have the potential to grow. They're already employing and they want to employ more. They're still not getting access to the kind of funding they need, and that has to change. And that's where we really are working with our partners to really make sure that women get the right kind of training and the right kind of support they need, the right kind of mentoring support they need, but also to get the right support within banks that have the right structures that are set up to actually work with women entrepreneurs, understanding that maybe their personal and their family environment is different, that they might not have collateral, for example. How do you access funding if maybe you don't have collateral? How do you approach those conversations? How do you approach those conversations about getting that overdraft when you need to be able to walk into those conversations, having your cash flow forecast, your sales forecast, your business plans, having all of the fundamentals in place. So yes, I encourage women to get the funding when they need it, but we also encourage that they've got to be able to get the right kind of training and development to be able to position them best to go and have those successful conversations when they need them, but only when they need them. I'm still a fan of don't rely on funding if you don't already have a sound business where money is going back into the business through sales. Make the money through sales, do it through organic growth. And then when you need that really exponential growth funding to be able to take on board a big contract, deliver a big contract, you suddenly need that cash flow to buy massive amounts of materials. You maybe don't have it in your savings. Do it smartly. Do it in partnership with financial institutions that understand you, but go in there prepared in the best possible way to get the best possible outcome.
Yeah, and I think also what we've got to teach women is you've got to plow your profits back. They get the money, they want to spend straight away. And I said, don't spend anything. Hang on to it. Put it back into the business until the business is really strong and you've got that very strong foundation. And my biggest struggle is to stop them spending on all the things that they really wanted all their lives, and suddenly now they have the ability to buy them, but they just don't think of tomorrow. And often they equate turnover to profit, and they think, oh, I've got all this money, let me spend it, and then they forget end of the month they've got to pay all the people back. So that's a big one for me. I always say your life is just a series of decisions. You make decisions about all sorts of different things. Think about 2 decisions that were really, really instrumental in making your business grow and take you from zero to hero.
Okay, well, 2 things. I mean, the first one, getting the right partners on board. Really key, because without the right partners, you don't have the right kind of support and funding for women entrepreneurs. You need to be able to get the right partners that can deliver on what you're trying to achieve, the big mission and goals. So finding the right partners that share that mission and vision, that share that goal genuinely and are prepared to walk a long-term path with you. That to me is critical. And that actually has been key to our longevity for so long. We've had the same partners for very many years that have walked a very long journey with us and continue to do so. And that's not by chance. These are partnerships that were They were thought about very carefully before entering into. We have a lot of people who approach us for partnerships, and we say no to most of them because they simply are not aligned to our values, and they're not allowed to align to our vision. And therefore, we've found over the years, and it comes, after many years of experience, walk a path and walk a journey with people who share the same vision as you. So that is a key one. But the central one, it lies right at the very heart of what we are. We're a community. It's about the women entrepreneurs in our network. What is key to our success is that there was a need, there was a gap. We created something that is genuine and tangible, that will be there for everyone for as long as they need it to be. It is a community for Africa's women entrepreneurs, by Africa's women entrepreneurs. And that is the key to success. You find a need, you find a solution, you build something that people want to be part of and belong to, and then you create all of the tools and things to plug in that support people along that journey and keep that momentum going. But at the end of the day, it starts with a need, and it starts with something that is genuine and authentic, and that has a vision that everybody understands and can buy into.
Yes. Now, you've had some amazing successes with the women you've worked with, and I can think of a few, but which ones really stand out to you, where you've really started from almost nothing and suddenly, oh my gosh, this person is doing incredibly well?
Funnily enough, I was thinking about this literally over the last couple of days, because I had a story, and this happens to us often, where a woman entrepreneur will reach out and she'll say, "Guess what happened to me?" And this is one of those stories, but it's even more special because, and honestly, there are thousands of stories that we've shared. Because the power of storytelling, I am a passionate believer in the power of storytelling. I think as human beings, we engage with one another on a really meaningful, deep and meaningful level when we share our stories, when we talk to each other authentically about who we are and what we're building, and it particularly in the world of business, which can be anything but authentic at times in the world of big business and commerce. That when it comes to entrepreneurship, we all have stories, and they're very personal to us. And for me, the power of storytelling is central to what we do. So there have been so many thousands of stories that I've shared over the years, but there's one I want to share which is actually quite special, and it shows what happens when you get a combination of big vision, big goals, and lots of tenacity, what it can achieve. Now, recently we had the pleasure of welcoming to our European base in The Hague, in the Netherlands, an amazing woman entrepreneur from Uganda called Anne Rewara. Now, you might remember her. You might remember her just going back a long time, but she's founded a company called Smart Havens Africa in Uganda. And what I love about Anne's story is that she saw a problem in her community and felt so compelled to do something about it. She had a big, audacious vision. And I think everyone at the time went, "You have to be joking. This is simply not possible." And I wanted to share that story. So her impact-driven business launched in 2018. And as you probably know, in Uganda, there is a massive shortage of housing for women that are leading women households. They're single parents, they are women-only households, but they're actually looking after big families, they're looking after a lot of children, but they are single women-led households. And it was almost impossible for these women to get a foot on the social housing ladder, any housing ladder. And Anne saw this and she said, "How do I?" And she's a female civil engineer. This is a trained, incredible professional woman who said, "Hang on a minute, I know how to build. I know how to build really big things. How do I take all of that skills, knowledge, and experience, and how do I change the lives of these women entrepreneurs fundamentally by giving them access to homes that are affordable, but not just that, how do I help them to build them themselves?" Now, this for me was the mind-blowing thing. So it's not just a case of saying, okay, there's a problem, let's build houses, let's make them affordable, let's open them up to women entrepreneurs. She said, no, these women have to actually build them themselves. We will show them how to do that but also give them access to the funding needed to do that. But also, how do we make them climate smart? How do we make them affordable to run? These are women on low income. How do we actually not just give them a home and a roof over their head, but a roof that they can be proud of, that they can raise a family in, that they can afford to run, because they're tapping into the power of solar. They're tapping into a building that has actually been built out of smart materials and affordable materials. So her business plan that she created and her business model is all about how you build innovative, eco-friendly homes for women owners that are on the lowest income. Her business is incredible. It allows them to own climate smart homes through a novel financing plan. So she didn't just say, how do I build these homes? How do I build the expertise into these women? But how do I actually get the finance secured for these women that wouldn't normally be able to access finance for a home ever? Because they don't earn enough. How do I then allow them to secure the land? Importantly, critical. How do they become landowners? How do they own that plot of land that the house stands on? And not only that, how do I help them to build those homes themselves? So her goal was to enable 1 million women-headed families on low income to be proud owners of climate smart homes by 2030. And really, that when I said about big, hairy, audacious goal, big vision and mission, she came up flying from the beginning. Lots of people said, you're not going to be able to do this. This is too big. This is too ambitious. But let me tell you, she is building homes right now with these women. These women are on those building sites. She is training. She is providing the materials, the funding. She's providing the smart technology, the latest, solar technology, climate smart bricks. It's basically building smart, affordable, really fantastic homes. If you see these homes, Margaret, you will be blown away. They look incredible. But not only that, she's building communities. She's building genuine communities of women in these wonderful, wonderful homes that are low cost to run. These women have helped to build them themselves. And they've been becoming proud owners of climate smart homes that are unlocking really bright futures for the children that they are raising as single woman-owned families. Now, what was really fantastic for me, not only that, we invited Anne to come and pitch her business at Startup Night Africa here in The Hague in November. And she blew people away. She told her story. Again, power of storytelling. She told her story in front of an audience of really high-powered officials, funders, really smart investors. They were blown away. So last week I got a call from Anne and from the Netherlands government saying they wanted to send a high-level delegation to meet Anne in Uganda and actually see her work on the ground. They wanted to support, they wanted to see and learn from her how her model is making access to home ownership for low-income, single-parent, women-headed families, how to make that business model work. Last week, that delegation landed in Uganda. They went to see Anne. They went to see those homes. They were blown away. And I'm now really interested to see it. Anne reached out to me to say, thank you. Thank you for the power of community, for being able to bring people together, to be able to share stories, to be able to connect with people that can actually bring the support, the funding, the connectivity to people who can actually now expand and scale a business model like that. To me, that is inspirational.
That is so incredible and just so amazing that she's actually doing it and she's seeing it through, because she didn't just start it and leave it. She's doing it herself all day, every day. I found out something quite amazing last week, that in South Africa, 69% of all the residential properties are owned by women, but there's not one woman on the Property Practitioner Board of South Africa. So what my friend Anita Momberg did is she started her own, she called it FEM, and it's just incredible. And I think as women, we have to take that we have to take the baton and we have to run with it and say, this is what we're going to do, and actually see it through. And she saw it through, and I'm so proud of her, because she just went from being an estate agent and mortgage originator, and she just said, I'm going to do this for the community, for the other women who are around there who don't have a voice yet, and I'm going to be that voice. So I think as women, we've got to really have the courage to take over and say, I'm going to do this no matter what it takes. And it wasn't an easy ride. She was ridiculed, and people said, oh, what do you think you're going to do? But she just did it, and the community just rallied round her, and we made it happen. So for me, that was just absolutely incredible.
But you see, what I love about that story is it comes back to the same thing. If you have a big vision, if you have a vision and a mission that other people can also buy into, but that you are prepared to stick by, stand by, keep going, no matter how many people say, no, it's not going to work. No, you're not going to get the support. No, it's not possible. You always, I always remember, in fact, I think you said this very many years ago. I remember I think you shared this when we were on one of our trips, and it might have been to Côte d'Ivoire many years ago. And we were sitting in front of an audience, and somebody said, well, what if somebody says no? People are always saying no to me. And you say, and I think you said something like, well, they said no today, but it doesn't mean to say they're going to say no tomorrow. Keep knocking at the door, keep asking, keep trying, but don't give up on the first no.
Yeah, no stands for next opportunity. If they say no, you've just got another opportunity to go and ask again and get it done and go through. When people come to you, and they often come to me for business advice, what advice do you give them? They say, I've done all this, I've done everything I can think of doing. I'm now at the end. I don't know what more can I do. Give me some business advice. That to me is always a tricky one, because you've got to go back into the history. What have you done? What have you haven't done? But to me, I always say there's two words. That's the secret of success, and that's hard work. There's no magic formula going to come up. Nobody's going to wave a magic wand and make it all happen. You just have to get stuck in and work hard. But when people ask you for business advice, what do you normally say to them?
Similar to you, there's no magic wand here. You can't, when somebody says to you, how do I make this work? Well, you can't always, and you can't always make it work the way you set out, you think you're going to make it work. You have to be prepared to change constantly. You have to be prepared to rethink completely what you've set out to do. You have to be completely open to advice and change. You have to be also completely open to failure and starting again if it's not the right thing at that time. I'll never forget sitting with an amazing woman entrepreneur many years ago, and this was at the start of COVID. And I remember you and I spoke a lot, often on Zoom calls through COVID, with everybody having to rethink. And I love that you talked about resilience right at the start of our conversation. And that is a piece of advice that I will always give to every woman entrepreneur, because there are going to be times when you can't fix it. There are going to be times when you have to go back to the drawing board, or you have to roll your sleeves on. You have to work harder than you thought it was ever possible to have to work every single day, 18 hours a day. There are going to be times in your life when it is going to be so tough you don't think you're going to make it. And that's where resilience is built. And at those times when you think you can't simply do any more, at those times when resilience kicks in and you find another gear, you find another idea, you find another level. And it's the resilience to keep going in the toughest of times. And for me, that advice is always, you can't always make something work. There are going to be some business ideas that simply are not going to be viable. But if you really want to make it work, if you really want to be an entrepreneur, think about that idea. Think about how you can pivot it. Think about how you can try something different. Think about how you can share ideas, tap into other people's advice and knowledge banks, learn from everybody. The one thing I do say to everybody is keep reading, keep learning. Never think you know it all. Never think that you have everything at your fingertips. You don't. We all keep learning every single day. That never stops.
I know with Shane, who's with me all the time, I always say to him, what are we going to do? We've got to find a solution for this. And he says, we'll figure it out. And I think that's the big thing as well. You can figure it out. You can just go ahead and figure it out. Just go try this, try that, try the next thing, and make sure that it comes out right at the end of the day. Because there's no easy thing. Now we've had so many things thrown at us, that we knew we couldn't see COVID coming. We couldn't see AI coming. We couldn't see this war coming. And we just have to pivot around it and just, say, well, what are we going to do now? Let's try this, let's try that. For myself, I'm going to India tomorrow for 2.5 weeks, and we've had to change our flight. I'm now going by Addis Ababa. And it was so crazy because on my vision board for this year was to go to Ethiopia, and now I'm going Ethiopian Airways to Addis Ababa tomorrow. So, I mean, it's just incredible. I'm a great believer in vision boards. And I was with one of my staff today, and he said to me, you won't believe, Margaret, it's only February, and I've almost got everything on my vision board. The only thing I've got left that's on my vision board is a car. I've got everything else. I've got a beautiful flat. I've furnished it. I've done everything that I can possibly think of. And he said, he even, because I encourage all my staff to have side gigs. He had a side gig, and he said, I wanted to make 100,000 Rand out of my side gig. And he made 225,000 out of it. So it's just incredible, the power of vision boarding and that. What do you tell entrepreneurs about vision boarding?
I'm a great believer in whatever works for you that will keep you on track and keep you focused on the journey, do it. Vision boarding is fantastic. So many people I know vision board. They can, for a lot of people, they need to see that thing every single day. And I remember walking into so many offices, so many women entrepreneurs spaces where their vision board is literally right in front of their eye line. They can see it when they sit down at their desk every day. They see it on their screens. They see it they've got a copy of it on their phones. They have it on their fridge at home. I'm a great believer in whatever works for you, do it. Vision boarding is fantastic. For me, I'm a great believer every single morning, and you know this because there have been times when you and I have been sat there writing to one another at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. But I write, and every single morning I write in my journal. I write for the day and remind myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing, what the vision is, what my goals are for the day, what my goals are for the quarter, what my goals are for the year. I remind myself, I revisit, I have them, but I make it a practice of writing it down by hand, because for me, I've always been a writer, and therefore the act of putting pen to paper is a commitment. It is making something real. It is making a commitment and a statement in writing that you will see when you flick that page over, when you're going through your journal each day. It's there. It holds you to account. And for me, that's really important. So, but if whatever it is that helps you to focus and remind yourself of your vision and your mission every day, do it. Vision boarding, writing in a journal, whatever it happens to be. Whatever works for you, I'm a great believer, do it. But you do need that every morning. I think it's important to do that check-in.
That ritual, the habit.
That ritual, that check-in with yourself that says, why am I got up this morning, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I sitting here now at my desk about to get stuck into the day's work? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And just reminding yourself of the big goal.
And to me, what I do every morning is I'm so grateful for what I have, because I have such amazing things in my life, and I'm so grateful for them. And I believe in gratitude. Gratitude is the greatest antidote for depression. A lot of people, oh, I'm so depressed. Well, be grateful for what you've got, because if you're not, it might be taken away. Then you'll be sorry.
A gratitude journal is actually a great way of starting your morning as well. I do something similar. So it's again, it's one of those things that it just helps you to keep accountable, but also accountable for what you can be thankful for in life. In challenging times, sometimes you just need to be thankful for the fact you look out of your window and the sun is shining that day.
In South Africa, you're grateful for the fact your electricity comes on and the water comes out the taps. I promise you. I mean, it's so different. But now, people come to me when I say young entrepreneurs. They're not young in age, because they can be any age. But a lot of people are retiring at 55 and 60 and thinking, suddenly that hits them. Oh my gosh, I thought retirement was it. And now suddenly I've realized I've got about another 50 years to go. I better start doing something that's going to keep me money and keep my money in line with inflation, because you don't want to be left behind. So to young entrepreneurs starting out, what do you say to them? What are the main criteria when they're going forward? They've got the idea, they've got their vision, they've got the money. And I work with women and I teach them their skills. Use your skills, whatever your skills are. If you can sing, you can dance, you can do nails, whatever your skill is, use that to generate money. And then that money in turn will generate more. And so it goes on. What do you say to young people starting out? And when I say young, not in age, it can be any age, starting out with an idea, with a vision, wanting to start their own business, no capital. What are the first few steps they should take?
Well, first of all, I'm actually going to start this with something that I wish someone had said to me all of those years ago, because I could have been an entrepreneur years before I actually became one. I went into the world of corporate first. And if I look back and I look at my younger self when I had ideas and things that I wanted to do, but I wasn't brave enough to start at that point. And I think the issue of courage and the issue of bravery to be able to start is a really big one, and it's a big one for women particularly. So I'd actually say it starts with being brave. Um, and actually believing in your idea. So, because there will be lots of people that tell you, no, don't be silly. You should just go into corporate. You should just go and get a safe job. Why would you want so much uncertainty, so much stress in your life? Why would you want to do that to yourself? So I think I would actually start with be brave and actually believe in your ideas. The next one I always say to when people are starting out and they go, yeah, but I don't have money. I don't have money for this. And I say, well, if you're waiting for somebody to give you a pile of money to start a business, it's not
It's
going to
never going to
happen.
happen. Never going to happen.
So that's the wrong starting point. It
Yeah.
starts with the idea. So, like you said, find your idea, find what you're passionate about, what are you skilled at, what could turn into a viable business idea that you can also be passionate about. I mean, I had one woman entrepreneur, a young would-be entrepreneur who came up to me in Mozambique a few years ago, and I remember it clearly. And she said to me, "Well, I had an idea. I had a really fantastic idea of something that I wanted to do and that I was really passionate about. And it was in the arts and no one wanted it. So I ended up I created a business that makes stationery. But I'm not passionate about it, but it's successful. I make wedding stationery." I said, yeah, but I said, well, first of all, kudos on you for building a business that's actually successful and making money, because it's helping you to build the life you want. I said, but secondly, you need to find something that you are passionate about that can actually turn into an idea that is business viable, because not every idea is going to be, and it might not be the first thing that you are passionate about. But if you can find something that is an interest, something that is a skill, something you can turn into a business and that you can see through, find that idea, lock in. The next thing I say to everybody is don't wait for perfect, because if you wait for the perfect set of conditions, they will never come. You will never have enough money to start. You will never have the clients on board that you want. You will never have the perfect product. You won't. So don't wait for perfect. I made the mistake in my early years of thinking you had to wait for perfect before you went out there and launched yourself into the marketplace. And you can't. And let's be honest about it. Most of these tech giants that we see today and all rely on, if they'd waited for perfect, we would not be sat here now on Zoom, on our laptops, on our Apple computers, actually just, waiting for the next big iteration, the next big innovation to come. Don't wait for perfect. The other thing I wish I had someone say to me a lot earlier on in my life is think big, don't settle for small.
It takes just as much effort to do something big as it does to do something small.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And to be quite frank, the biggest lesson I have learned with Lionesses of Africa is if you come out of the starting blocks thinking big, it actually makes it easier to sell that idea than trying to sell a small idea to people out there. People are much more likely to lock into something that grabs their attention. But you have to have the passion and the conviction to see it through and actually convince other people that you're going to deliver. And it comes back to the conversation we had right at the very beginning. How do you look at longevity? How do you look at the longevity of an idea? You never know if a business is going to last 1 year, 1 month, or 50 years. But I mean, but that is the world of business. But if you can come out in the starting blocks and actually just start thinking a little bigger, and don't settle because somebody says you can't, you won't, that you have to settle for small. You don't. It's actually all, it starts in the head.
I think also as women, we tend to listen to other women. They say, "Oh, don't try that." Or, my sister did this, my auntie did this. And then you start listening to them and you start getting that self-doubt. So I say to women, if you want to get ahead, the first thing you've got to get rid of is the self-doubt. You've got to believe in yourself. And I make them sing that song, I believe I can, I believe I will, and I believe my dreams are real. And if you get that belief in yourself and you just have that mantra going all the time, and I do it with song because I love songs, then that song starts to go, and you actually, and then like the little train and the kiddie stories, I can, I will, I must, and I think I can, I think I can, and just to get that going, that they think they can, and when that doubt starts to creep in, they've got somebody to phone like me or you or whoever and say, that doubt starting to creep in, that imposter syndrome that all of us women carry around with us all the time, starting to creep in, and you have to say, no, 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 get rid of it, push it out the way, don't even think about that, focus on what you want and going forward.
But again, it comes back to the power of community. You need other women that understand what you are going through to validate what you are going through, but to also help you to navigate it. So that you need line of sight to women that have done it and been there, that know what it feels like to be you just starting out. Yeah, it is so daunting when you first start out, and like you say, it doesn't necessarily mean you're young in age. I mean, there are now more, as you say, more encore entrepreneurs starting businesses after 50 than there have ever been, out of necessity, but also out of want, unfulfilled desire, passion. It's never been more the case. But you have to have the power of conviction, and to be able to be surrounded by other women that have actually been where you are today, whether you are 16 or 60 and starting out.
And I think to all the women out there watching who is thinking, oh, they can do it, but I can't, every one of us can do it. Every one of us has got that seed of entrepreneurship inside of us. And it's just having the courage to get it. And I say to them, if you're in a corporate job, stay in the corporate job, but have this as a sideline. They're 24 hours in a day. You're only at work for 8. It leaves you a lot of extra hours, and you can put that effort into something that will fulfill you. Because to me, the worst job you could do is sitting there stamping a book every day, or doing the same repetitive thing day in and day out. I know that when my luggage got lost at Fort Lauderdale airport, I went to the luggage place to go and find it, and I said to the man, how long have you been doing this job? And he said 39 years. And I thought,
Wow.
oh my God, imagine sitting for 39 years just listening to people who've lost their luggage every single day. I mean, you've got to have something that fills your soul, and makes you feel life is worthwhile, and you've got that spark that's inside you. So Melanie, thank you so much for being on the show today. Our time has just whizzed by, but it's been fabulous having you, and you're never at a loss for words, which is amazing. And I love having you as a friend, because you are somebody that I look up to, and you're not afraid to take chances, and you've gone out and you've made such a huge success of it. You're absolutely one of a kind in this world, which I think is
As are
also
you.
amazing. And I just hope that as women entrepreneurs, we can be inspiration to there's other women out there who know, ladies, you can work for a boss and make a living. You can work for yourself and make a fortune. We've both done it. You can do it too. And it's very possible. All you have to do is the courage to go forward, the courage to keep going when it's tough, and to have a supportive bunch of women around you to help you to get through those difficult times and get rid of the imposter syndrome. And you can go ahead. Melanie, just a parting shot from you.
I think you're quite right in what you say. I think it's all about attitude, and it's all about looking inside. It starts with what's going on inside. And I think if you are at that time in your life, whatever that time of life is, where you want something more, you want to be able to take control of your destiny, you want to be able to take control of your life in a different way, then entrepreneurship is a path and a journey that allows you to do that and fills your cup each day, both at a soul level and also at a financial level. So if you are at that stage of your life, or you're already on this journey, then you are a lioness of Africa.
So to everyone watching, if you enjoyed the show with Melanie now tonight, like and subscribe, and let me know if you'd like me to interview anybody who you look up to, who inspires you. But otherwise, we'll be back next week with another inspiring message for you. Thank you.